Hey everybody, I'm Tim and today we're talking Dominican Republic, baby. You're watching Cigars Daily. Get more out of this and all our videos when you join the community on Cigars Daily Plus and when you watch it on Rumble. In this series, I'm taking you through the secret language of cigars. These are terms that we use in our everyday vernacular that refer to things like countries and regions where the leaf is grown, seed varietals, sizes, wrapper leaves, even primings of the leaf on the plant, and we use them as if we know what the hell they even mean, but the truth is there's a lot behind this. Cigars are the result of a lot of artistry, but also a tremendous amount of agricultural science, and this is the kind of stuff that cigar people like to geek out about a lot, and so I'm taking you through these, and in the first two videos we went through growing regions in Nicaragua, as well as the growing regions of Honduras in the last video, and today is a unique and fun opportunity to dive into the Dominican Republic. And as I started to prepare for this video and put some notes together, I gotta tell you, this one feels like kind of a flub because the Dominican is such an interesting place for cigar making. By its very nature, it's just different than Nicaragua and even Honduras. When you talk to people in a cigar shop, they'll often tell you like, oh yeah, man, I'm really into Nicaraguan cigars. I've heard a lot of people say that over the years. And truth be told, this is the country where we talk about growing regions inside your wrapper, binder, and filler blending information more than any other. I mean, you go and these guys in Nicaragua are so excited, like, oh, it's from the Jalapa Valley and the Ometepe and the blend, it's all this other stuff. But the companies that make cigars out of the Dominican Republic, they're just a bit of a different breed. A lot of these are longer standing heritage cigar companies who will more or less put a cigar out there and say, it's Dominican, do you like it? And by the way, these are some of the world's most famous long-standing cigar brands like Arturo Fuente, who's very famously Dominican throughout their blends in their catalog. And so when you see Dominican in the blend of a cigar, you often don't see these growing regions. But here I am, having already done videos in this series about all the growing regions of the other countries, and sure enough, the Dominican Republic has its own growing regions, so I kind of feel like I have to do this, and it was a hell of a lot of fun to go through, so now here you are with me on this journey, being as much of a nerd as I am. Congratulations. Welcome back to the loser wall at the dance in high school where you're all standing there watching the cool kids play together. Let's talk about Dominican Republic and growing regions for cigars. Like I already mentioned, the Dominican Republic has been home to some of the world's most famous cigar brands, and a lot of this popped up right after all the cigar makers fled from Cuba after the rise of communism. They left their field, farm, factory, and even their family names to just get out of the country and go somewhere else. Many of them ended up in the Dominican Republic, and for that reason, today you find a lot of cigar makers there and famous brands like Cohiba, Romeo y Julieta, Monte, Cristo, and I already mentioned Arturo Fuente, who are big in the cigar making world in the Dominican Republic before it was cool to make cigars in Nicaragua. And coincidentally, the first place I want to talk about there is sort of the cigar making capital of the Dominican Republic, and that's a beautiful town called Santiago. The city of Santiago is located in the northern part of the Dominican Republic and is, for all intents and purposes, the cigar rolling capital of at least the Dominican Republic, if not a larger portion of the world. It's surrounded by some growing regions in the Dominican Republic, but as far as you're concerned, if you're one of those like, I really like Nicaraguan cigars, you can think about Santiago as the Esteli of the Dominican Republic. This is where you're going to find factories where there's fermenting and pilones and the rolling of cigars and even all the boxing and banding that goes on. A lot of it happens in that area. So like I said, famous cigars are made in this place. If you want to see where the world famous Opus X cigars are rolled, well hell, you gotta go to Santiago. And like I said, some of these other growing regions are right outside of Santiago. The next one happens to be in the same area. It's called the Saba Valley. Now, this, like, you probably haven't seen this in the blending information before, but it's absolutely world famous. It's considered to be an agricultural jewel for the Dominican Republic for a couple of reasons. The first one being that Sabao means like rocky place. It has this rocky soil that is actually really helpful for the leaf that we use in cigars to thrive. And at that same soil happens to be very nutrient rich. And so it grows some really incredible leaf, some leaf that is so incredible, in fact, that you will find leaf from this region in Arturo Fuente's Hemingway cigars. The Arturo Fuente Hemingway is most famous for its Cameroon wrapper, but beyond that, it is entirely a Dominican cigar where some of that leaf coming right out of Saba Valley, and for a very long time. And even as we move on down the road, we're not going to go too far away from Santiago as we look inside a region called Villa Gonzalez. Now, this is a place where we've been growing cigar leaf for a hell of a long time. Since the 1960s, this is basically right after or even like during the rise of communism in Cuba. As people are still running away from Cuba, we're already growing premium cigar leaf in Villa Gonzalez. This part of the country is well known for producing some top priming grade A wrapper leaf. And that's a really big deal. It makes the land incredibly valuable for the farmers that grow there. In a premium cigar, the most valuable leaf is the wrapper on the outside. It's the one that you look at. You smoke it with your eyes before you ever touch the flame to the foot. And so when you can grow wrapper leaf really well out of a region or out of a bit of soil, that is a powerful thing. Villa Gonzalez has been known for this for a long time. Hell, 60, almost 70 years now. And most recently and famously, you find leaf from this region in Conor McGregor's new Notorious cigar, which is one of the most recent releases on the market featuring Dominican leaf. And by the way, a celebrity cigar that is not like bad. He did a good job. Like, what is it? Like, these new celebrities are coming in and they're not just like sportscasters and sports figures anymore. They're like foodies and fighters and like all kinds of people that are legitimately seriously cigar people. And I gotta say, I love it. I'm a big fan. Notorious is a winner with me. And now we'll take a little bit of a jaunt away from the region of Santiago and head to the south of the Dominican Republic to visit a region called Jacawa. Jacawa? Is that right? Jacawa. It looks like a mashup of the name Jacques and Nicaragua. Jacawa. But that is, in fact, how it's said. And this region really, I think, quite often gets overlooked for what it is. It's not, again, mentioned in the blending information for a lot of cigars who would just list it as being having Dominican leaf in the blend, but this is a place where you find this incredibly smooth, even aromatic, very silky leaf that gets used in a lot of elite luxury cigars, especially ones that have been around for quite a while. A great example of this is the Monte Cristo White series, a famous cigar that I believe is one of the like pinnacle cigars. If every cigar maker had one wish, it would be to have a cigar in the catalog that was so popular that you have to roll 1 million cigars per year of that blend. Monte Cristo White Series is one of those cigars. It has been around for a very long time, an elite top-tier cigar that uses some of that Jacawa leaf. And although they don't list it in the blend, the Monte Cristo White gives a great example of how that leaf can be so smooth and aromatic and silky and delicate and produce such a mild yet flavorful experience. And now we got to move all the way back up north and a little further west of the Santiago area to visit a region called Navarete. Now, this is a region that I think breaks the mold just a little bit of what people characteristically say Dominican leaf is like. And every country sort of has that like characteristic flavor of the leaf for the nation. Even though the growing regions are very different, in Nicaragua we say that the leaf is very strong and very spicy. In Honduras they say that it's more earthy, man. And in the Dominican Republic it tends to be smooth, silky throughout the country, aromatic type leaves. except for in Navarete. This is a place where they've referred to the leaf as the Ligero of the Dominican because it's quite a bit bolder in the Navarete region. The leaf we get out of this space accounts for some pretty punchy, pretty strong Dominican cigars. Like a perfect example of this is the Casa Carrillo La Historia. I remember when I very first got into cigars and got introduced to Casa Carrillo cigars. I didn't even really know Ernesto Perez Carrillo as the blender of La Gloria Cubana. I really knew him for his own blends with his own family and his brand. And this cigar uses leaf from that region, and it does have that like really bold, really punchy, powerful, what you would expect to see from even a Nicaraguan Puro blend that uses all Nicaraguan leaf with even more Dominican in the blend. And all of it comes from that one piece of soil where it just so happens they can grow and even ferment some punchier, bolder Dominican leaf. And then we'll stick around the same general area as Navarete. And we're going to visit a region called Mau region. But not that Mau, a different one. This is actually a really important agricultural region, even for food. A lot of rice is grown in the Mau region, along with premium cigar leaf. Now, there are places where you very infamously get a lot of wrapper leaf. We've mentioned some of these growing regions in the Dominican. And you find other ones where you get a lot of good filler leaf. The Mau region is responsible for a lot of binder leaf. For whatever reason, you can grow it really well there, I guess maybe right alongside the rice field. And you're going to find that this binder leaf from the Dominican Republic, once again, it's just mentioned in the blending information under binder as Dominican. I doubt that you would very often, if ever, see specifically Mau listed under the binder region, but you'll find it in, world famous, long-standing blends like the Romeo y Julieta Reserva Real. This is like one of the most long-standing famous Connecticut shade cigars I'm aware of, sort of like the Monte Cristo White series that uses Dominican leaf. But once again, that binder leaf is going to pop up again and again and again, and this one gives me an example to show you a cigar where you're going to find that. Again, you see the blending information, it's just going to say, it's Dominican. But really, there's a lot more finesse behind it. In this very agricultural, food-growing region, you'll find the binder leaf for one of the world's favorite cigars. And finally, we'll stay up in the northern part of the Dominican Republic to visit our final growing region called San Victor. This place grows a lot of really smooth, really balanced, really clean tasting leaf. And that's kind of important because when you roll your cigars, your filler, your binder, even your wrapper, you want it to have this leaf that leaves a very clean taste. That's when you don't get that nom, what did I smoke last night? Kind of like, I don't know, ashy taste in your mouth. Cleanness of leaf is important, and the San Victor region produces exactly that. It's known for a low chlorine content in the soil, which allows them to grow this leaf that just produces this incredibly clean flavor. And out of that flavor, you find, once again, very characteristic of Dominican leaf, smooth, silky, aromatic leaf that gets used in a lot of prized cigars. Another example of that is the Notorious. Again, this Conor McGregor cigar's got a lot of Dominican leaf in it, and it works to show off some of the best that the Dominican Republic has to offer. And that's not easy to do because there are so many incredible brands and families that have been doing this there for generations, like the Fuentes of Arturo Fuente. The Dominican Republic is a world famous place for making premium cigars. And even though I think that a lot of people look today at Nicaragua as the place with a lot of the flash and the sizzle, if you want hardcore, long-standing, serious agricultural tobacco and absolute practice in the art of blending and rolling premium cigars, you need to look no further than the Dominican Republic. The big question though is, do you like it? This is a conversation I had with someone who worked at Arturo Fuente. He told me, he said, Tim, at Arturo Fuente, we don't tell you that the leaf comes from this region and that region and it was grown on the, last Sunday after the harvest or whatever it was. He said, we put the cigar in a person's hand and say, it's Dominican, do you like it? And that's the pitch, because everything about the relationship with Arturo Fuente, everything about the relationship they have with the leaf, they have so much confidence behind what they do, they don't need to tell you where the sourcing comes from. Now, I think that's a fascinating pitch today because so many of the consumers out there are truly interested in sourcing. It's the reason that when you go to your local grocery store, they're like, oh, these eggs came from a farm down the road, or our milk is from, cows that we pet every time we touch their udders. I don't know. It's like we're interested in where the things come from that we are consuming these days. And so a lot of the cigar world is focused on this, like, what is the growing region? But in the Dominican Republic, and among many of these families there, and most notably Arturo Fuente, they still work in many of these different regions to produce some of the world's most foremost tobacco out there, and they just still put it in front of you and say, do you like it? And I gotta say, based on the way that people go after Arturo Fuentes, it seems very much like they do. And so there you go. We just nerded out together. Thank you for joining me in doing that. Here's a real question. Do you want to know in the blend what the regions are? Like, do you want to see that wrapper, binder, and filler? Do you want to know that it's just Dominican? Or do you care that it came from Navarete and that the filler leaf is from the Mau region, or that the wrapper leaf came out of San Victor or wherever they grew it? I'm really curious to know from you guys down there because you are the beating heart of the cigar world. So drop your comments down below. And of course, stay tuned for more of this series on the secret language of cigars. I got a lot more coming, from seed varietals to sizes and even plant primings for you guys. And get more out of this video when you check it out on the community on Cigars Daily Plus and on Rumble. Thanks again so much for watching. This is Tim signing off for Cigars Daily, and I will see you in the comments.